How to begin your road to recovery from COVID-19. Take the guesswork out of your healing journey with Dr. Lisa Balleher as she walks us through her online workshop designed for long haulers to build immune resilience affordably at home. You're listening to Real COVID Stories with Ivy Lane. The media numbers don't show the full story. Millions of people around the world have been sick for months and months on end. This podcast serves to share their stories, real stories of how people's lives have changed. Stories of the daily struggles, the prejudice, the pain, the triumph, the funny, and more. Hi, it's Ivy Lane here, and today I'm talking to Lisa Balleher from Arizona. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good.
So Lisa today is going to be showing us inside her workshop that's been designed for people with COVID and long haul COVID to build their immune systems from a functional medicine approach. So Lisa, can you tell us a little bit about your background and education?
Sure. My undergraduate degree was biochemistry and biophysics. Nowadays, it's kind of genetics and genetic engineering. So I was at the very forefront of the genetic engineering phase. They didn't change the name of my program until about 3 years after I graduated. From undergrad, I had planned on going to graduate school in genetic engineering, but I decided kind of at the last minute to go to medical school instead. So I went to medical school. Through medical school, I was more interested in the science and the background of medicine itself, and I kind of wound up in a subspecialized field in radiology. So I subspecialized in orthopedic sports medicine and interventional. So we did interventional surgical procedures in sports medicine and specialized in radiology in that field. So I practiced orthopedic radiology for almost 18 years, and I still do, but I do it part-time. And I started functional medicine about 5 years ago.
And so what was it that led you to functional medicine?
Well, my own health issues, basically. I had a lot of different symptoms that grew over kind of a long period of time. Different symptoms from my gut. I had gas and bloating and a lot of pain in my gut and fatigue, and all these symptoms grew over a period of about a year to 2 years, and I didn't know where they were coming from, and going to different physicians, my primary care physician, nothing really helped, and I kind of got worse and worse to the point where I couldn't sleep at night. So I had pretty bad insomnia and fatigue and brain fog, and all these things just kind of got worse and worse. And to one day I had a hemiparaplegic stroke. So I had a full hemiparaplegic stroke. Left side of my body was completely weak, and I was aphasic. I couldn't speak, so I went to the ER. My blood pressure was like 220 over 190. Everything kind of resolved over about a 10-day period of time, so I was really lucky everything resolved. But I got absolutely nowhere with conventional medicine and going to the physicians, having all the tests done. I had the CT echo, I had all the studies done. All the studies that a lot of COVID long hauler patients are having done right now are showing nothing. Everything was completely normal, and there's no explanation to why I had a hemiparaplegic stroke. So I was kind of fortunate in that my primary care physician is an integrative physician, and she had mentioned that the Cleveland Clinic did some specialty labs in vascular inflammation. So I sent off my blood work to the Cleveland Clinic, and I noticed on their website the Institute for Functional Medicine. So that's how I was introduced to functional medicine. I was browsing a website and I saw the Institute for Functional Medicine. So I got all my blood work back from the Cleveland Clinic, and I had some extremely elevated inflammatory vascular markers, and I didn't know what that meant or where it came from. A couple of the markers indicated that I could have a sudden cardiac death or a massive stroke within a 3-month period of time. So I contacted a cardiologist who did functional medicine, and I talked to him for about an hour, and he explained the whole process of functional medicine and how it works and how you go through all your body systems, and how people get to the point of where they are and how they develop these diseases and how their immune system really just kind of goes into a dysfunctional mode. Mm-hmm. And why, and how you uncover the root cause of exactly why and exactly what you're treating. So I went to the Institute of Functional Medicine. I did all their courses, and I did one-on-one training with several functional medicine doctors just to get up to speed really quickly. So I wound up treating myself through functional medicine through this entire process, and it's a very long process. And I'm still kind of at the very end of that as well. So I opened a practice and I started seeing patients, and so that's how I got into functional medicine.
But it is ongoing, isn't it? When you've had
it is ongoing. It's lifelong. Yeah.
Not necessarily. Well, it's never a quick fix, but it's not something you just get over.
Right. It's not a quick fix, and most of the patients in my practice I take on for 1 year commitment. Because it can take up to an entire year to resolve and uncover a lot of problems. It can take 6 months to 9 months just to figure out what the exact root problem was to begin with that started this entire process. But people do get better, and they get better, for lifelong, and once they follow this entire processes. So.
Yeah, and it's a lifestyle change, isn't it?
It's a lifestyle change, yeah.
And understanding how what you do affects your health.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and then changing your lifestyle, all of your nutrition, your health habits and everything, and also unmasking some of the stress and the dysfunction of all your body systems that occurred over many years of time. So it can take a year to reverse a lot of that. Yeah.
Yes. So do you feel that having gone through chronic illness yourself puts you in a better position than, say, a normal physician?
Absolutely, yeah.
Understanding the COVID long haul process?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, understanding the COVID long haul process, because compared to a conventional medicine doctor, because I understand that functional medicine physicians understand that there is something at the root of why every single patient crashed and kind of did not do well in the process of developing COVID and COVID long haulers. There's a reason to why, and it's unmasking the reason to why and getting to the root cause and treating that cause itself.
And that's different in every person.
That's different in everybody. Yep. There are some things that kind of run across the board that a lot of people have, like chronic viral infections or maybe chronic yeast or fungus infections or exposure to mold. Some of the patients may not realize they have any of that and have no idea that that's their underlying root reason as to why they're sick or developed immune dysfunction, or they have exposure to latent viruses like an EBV virus or even HSV, and Lyme's disease. And some of those are really chronic, latent type of hidden infections in the body that people will develop from stress and poor nutrition and so just some bad health habits over time that break down our body systems to allow those viruses or whatever to take place, and that's what kind of causes dysfunction of your immune system to begin with. But you may not know that's going on until something happens, something like COVID happens, and then you realize there is something going on and something wrong. So you have to discover exactly what that is and treat that root cause. Now for me, I went through the process and I went through treating my gut. The gut is absolutely the most important thing, and that's where you start. And you start by doing stool testing, and you look at all the bugs in the gut, and you get rid of all the bad bugs, and you try to build up all the good bugs. You change your nutrition, and you start with the gut, then you treat the gut, then you treat the gut, then you treat the gut. And then you start looking at other organ systems, kind of like liver and liver detox, and start looking at mitochondrial repair, and all the different body systems together. In a process, it's a period of time that you go through this process. Now for me, through this process, I discovered that I am definitely gluten intolerant, which a lot of people are. They estimate about 25% of the population has some form of a gluten or wheat intolerance, really, and that causes significant inflammation. Well, uncovering all that, I found yeast and yeast overgrowth. Well, then it just didn't quite get better. I got 80 to 90% better, so I started doing additional testing, and I found mold. So I live in Arizona where you don't expect mold at all, and I have 2 different homes, and we actually had to remediate one home that I have and getting ready to start a remediation on the second home I have, because you have hidden mold in different places where you don't know, and you have no idea that it even exists. So mold is one of those things that I do treat, and I'm probably treating about 7 mold cases right now, patients with mold. And you discover that over a period of time as you're treating them, that there's still something there and still something you need to treat.
Mold is very insidious. Very
It's very,
insidious.
very insidious.
You've also got to be weakened for it to become a problem as well. I think that's
Yes, that's
uh,
true. So it's a combination of a lot of different things, and I think, like you said, you have to be weakened, and for some people to be susceptible. So I think chronic stress, lifelong type of stresses, gluten intolerance, or poor nutrition or in habits. For myself, I exercised quite a bit, very healthy and active. And I think a lot of it was like the chronic stress, a lot of stress, and gluten intolerance to begin with, just kind of breaks down your system.
yeah.
It makes you a little more vulnerable to, those type of insidious infections that cause real immune system dysfunction.
Have you been able to help people with COVID and long haul COVID in your practice and with your workshop?
Yeah, with the workshop is specifically for people who are not my patients. So that is the workshop that I did, was basically all of your lifestyle factors and kind of a basic understanding of functional medicine and how you approach the getting the healing response. So it's not kind of a try this, try that, and try different products and try to balance your immune system or your gut and this and that. You have to go in and change all of your lifestyle factors in order to get rid of some of the inflammation in the body. And then you go to a physician in order to look specifically for where your dysfunctions are the greatest and start treating those.
So refine it with a physician, but your workshop sort of gives you the basis.
Yeah, so the workshop is the basic fundamentals of lifestyle changes. And as far as my practice, I do have COVID practices or COVID long hauler patients. Some of the patients have had fatigue and insomnia and a lot of different symptoms for 4, 5, 6, 7 months before they even came to see me or start the program. When you go see a functional medicine physician, they're going to do a lot of testing to begin with. Number one is stool testing and some other testing. So that's like a 2 to 3 week delay right there, getting a lot of those results back. I listen to the patients and then I'll put them on kind of a really aggressive type of program for one specific system if I think that's where their system is the most dysfunctional. So it's going to be different for every patient. So for some patients, I'm thinking your gut is really, every single patient's going to go through a gut program no matter what. But there are some patients I'm like, your gut is really bad. We're really going to just start this until we get the tests back and then go from there. And then other patients, it's your mitochondria is really especially COVID long hauler patients, just starting with the mitochondria really quick up front and really fast. So several of the COVID long hauler patients I've had who have been, extremely fatigued and not well for 4 or 5 months, who came to see me and started them on an aggressive mitochondrial repair program. Within 2 to 3 weeks, they definitely know a difference. And one of the patients said he had to go off of those, I think because he forgot to take them with him where he was going, and he wasn't on them for about 4 or 5 days. And he said it was a dramatic difference. And he realized how much they were actually helping him and his fatigue. So patients do get better. In the COVID long hauler patients that I have, they do improve, but it's to get back to normal functioning health, it's still going to be, 4, 5, 6 months. But when they come into the practice within a month and 2 months, they are seeing definite improvement so that they're a little bit more functional and they can continue, they can at least go back to work. So one patient wasn't able to walk up the driveway. I think he was getting winded from walking up the driveway. And about a month later, he realized, I'm walking the whole block and taking the dog for a walk and doing this. I just realized how much more I'm doing.
Yeah.
But he couldn't go for a 2-mile run yet. So it's still a process.
Process.
But when you aggressively look and see exactly where patients' dysfunctions are and you start rebuilding from that point, people get better much quicker.
It's sort of the synergistic effect of everything working together better.
Everything working together. Yeah. Right.
And I think that's a really interesting point that you made about stopping supplements and then going, like, that's what I've experienced. I think, I'm feeling great. And if I cut down on things and I realize that there's still so much repair to do. And I think for a lot of people, they'll try something, it's not working, they'll stop it. And I think the commitment you need to get through this is it's long term.
It's long term. So the average person in my practice, it's a year. It's a year, and sometimes more than a year. But that's with a lot of aggressive type of treatment too.
Would you say that your workshop would save time, money, and energy for people who are currently doing the trial and error, stab in the dark sort of approach to rediscovering their health?
Yeah. So it's basically the fundamentals of the entire body systems that work together in unison. And where you're doing kind of trial and error and asking people, what are you taking? What worked for you? Whatever. You don't know which body system where and what you're trying to improve. And you kind of want to improve all of them together all at one time. So it's kind of a random method of just, tell me what to take and how long or whatever. You kind of need to do everything. And so you need your entire, what we call it the modifiable lifestyle factors, health and nutrition, which is what you coach, is what you teach people. So that's what coaches emphasize and physicians emphasize, that you get your modifiable lifestyle factors, in play. And then we target all the systems and support them, and then start treating each system one at a time. So it's not a random approach at all. It's very selective, and it's very in tune to fixing one specific system at a time.
Yes. I think that's what's hard for a lot of people with COVID, is that they have been left, abandoned, to try and work this out for themselves. And it's
Right. And I think one of the problems with some of the COVID long haulers who aren't going to a functional medicine physician or even an integrative physician who has, a background in this type of healthcare and this type of a medicine model, is that they're being treated for just this and just these symptoms. Whereas you don't fix the other systems, the other body organs, if you don't fix oxidative stress, and if you don't fix liver detox, and if you don't fix your mitochondria, that treatment for just those symptoms that doctor, it's not going to get you better quicker and faster. It's going to take a lot longer.
Yes, I read something.
And that's where I think people are being lost, in the
well, and people have been
conventional
being put on antibiotics just in case they've got another infection, just in case.
Oh, wow, that's not good. That actually is going to set you back. That's going
to go backwards. Yes, yeah. I know. That's surprisingly common.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a virus.
Yeah. And the one thing that's kind of a little bit frustrating for those of us in functional medicine is that we're all allopathic or osteopathic, either one of those fields. We went to medical school, we know conventional medicine, and then we also went to functional medicine. And I've been asked multiple questions, and even conventional medicine doctors, well, I don't believe in that. But I've done all the same training you've done. I understand your background. I did additional training and studying. Why don't you believe it when you didn't even study this program or this field of functional medicine? So it's a little bit frustrating when conventional medicine doctors are telling our patients, or even telling us, well, don't do that, that's not going to work. Well, you have not studied as much or gone to as much training as we have, so you really don't know, how this field really works.
But that's part of the thing, isn't it, that conventional medicine believes it's the gold standard for everything.
Yes, and a lot of us come from that field, and we realize it's not, and it doesn't work.
Why the best of the best to go to functional medicine.
Right, exactly. Those who are the most dedicated do. Yep.
Yeah, people who genuinely want to find answers.
Right.
Can you tell me really quickly what sets functional medicine apart from mainstream medicine, and also what sets it apart from integrative medicine? Because I think people sort of lump things together sometimes.
Well, we already touched upon integrative and functional medicine is a little bit different than conventional medicine, because we look at the whole body, the entire body as one organ, and everything interacts and works together. Integrative medicine is kind of a combination of many, many different fields of medicine. They look at Eastern medicine and a lot of different, using a little bit of herbs and more natural products, and a little more holistic products, and a combination of many fields of medicine, and using those kind of in a little bit more of a conventional approach. And functional medicine is a little bit different in that we specifically look for the absolute root cause of why systems have failed, and we look at all the body systems, and we go through a specific technique to going through the entire body systems, repairing them integratively, and changing patients' modifiable lifestyle factors at the same time, and also using more holistic natural approaches and herbs and things like that to to get patients better. So functional medicine is a little bit deeper training. We use genetics, and we look at genetic SNPs, but basically the difference is functional medicine physicians go specifically for the absolute cause of what caused that problem and then repair the body systems out. So there are a lot of integrative physicians who've gone back and done functional medicine training. A lot of them done multiple different courses. So a lot of integrative physicians are functional medicine physicians. You kind of have to ask them, where their background is from.
Mm-hmm. So I think people with COVID, they're first and foremost, they want to live. That's the scariest
and
thing.
they will. Your body is miraculous, and it will heal itself no matter what. It's whether you want to do it, on your own over, an entire year period of time, and you will get better and you will recover a year and a half because the body is amazing. Mm-hmm. Or do you want to get better really quick and fast? And it's not really that quick and fast for a lot of people. It is 4, 5, 6 months. Feeling better within a couple months, getting to some of the major problems, but then feeling really, really good at 5, 6, 7 months down the road.
That seems really fast. 5 or 6 months from what I'm seeing. I'm now 12 months, and I'm doing really, really well. But there's still absolutely lingering things. So 5 or 6 months.
Well, okay, so doing really well meaning like 60, 70, 80% better.
Oh yeah. I did that. Yeah. I did well then. So I think that some people might wonder about your workshop, and because they feel that they've tried everything. Is this actually going to help them? Are they going to? So can you sort of explain how it would be able to help people who feel that they've actually tried everything?
I did the workshop basically because it's kind of the real basics of functional coaching and lifestyle factors. And it's something everybody needs to be doing at home on their own, and things they need to change. And when you get all of those systems in play and you're changing all those factors, you're going to improve. You're going to improve quite a bit just from making those changes in order to get rid of a lot of the inflammation in the body and getting the body to be able to heal itself. And before I did functional medicine, I thought I had I thought I had a great diet until I really got down to the science of the diet and exactly what is not a good diet and what you should not eat. And a lot of people do not know this. They think they're great. They think they're doing well. You think you exercise well. There are so many over-exercisers out there. I was one of them. I did HIIT training and I ran cross country and I did, ride motorcycles, and I worked out way too much. So that's a lot of catabolic stress. So the entire workshop is just the real basics that people need to understand. Just the basics of sleep. You're talking to physicians who, you go to bed at midnight and get up at 4 a.m. because you have more time to be more productive. Now I realize you need to sleep 6 to 7, 8 hours a night, every single night, because you need that sleep for your body to repair itself. So there's a lot of the basics.
Brain repair is sleep.
Yes, exactly.
Naps. That's what I nap 2 or 3 times a day.
There are quite a few patients I've come into my practice and I've done sleep apnea test on, and I'm just amazed the number of people who have significant sleep apnea, and have several of them have to go on CPAP. You wouldn't realize how significant it is and how detrimental that is to your health overall.
Yeah. Well, if you don't get enough oxygen,
right.
How can the body? I mean, that's the primary thing then, isn't it? That's where the body's focus is going to be, trying to get enough oxygen. Doesn't have time for anything else. So are we able to have a little look inside your workshop just to show people what's covered? Share your screen. Hopefully it will work.
Okay, so I did the workshop in Teachables. So you go to the Teachables. You can go to my website and then click on that and then go to Teachables. And then you have to set up a Teachables account. Mm-hmm. So this workshop is basically for people who are not my patients. So as a physician, I'm going to treat people much more aggressively, and I'm going to do a lot more testing, and I'm going to do stool testing and a lot of other stuff. So this is really the basics for everybody to be doing at home. It's more of an educational type of a workshop, and it's full of a lot of information, and it's basically a functional medicine coaching practice in one small workshop. Mm-hmm. So I do a video on what the workshop is and what it entails, in my story and why I went into functional medicine and a lot of the symptoms that I experienced. So a lot of symptoms I experienced, it will resonate with a lot of the COVID long hauler patients because the pressure in the head and the insomnia and dizziness when you stand up and just fainting. And I had a lot of symptoms over a long period of time. So a lot of the symptoms I had, I just kind of blew off and didn't think they were even related. So I talk about that in this journey, so people will understand that they are all related. They're all related. All the
So
symptoms.
vascular symptoms, very, very COVID.
Yes, we're finding that out. There's so much information on the web about COVID and new information, So this is a little outdated on the COVID part of it. I go through supplements. I talk about supplements because I do a video on supplements because I want people to realize that the supplement industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and you really need to select very high-quality supplements. And I'm very kind of anal retentive about that in patients in my practice because if they buy cheap supplements, they're not going to get better. I don't want them in my practice. I want them with high quality supplements, and I want to know exactly what they're taking, the quantity, and how much. And that's really important to understand that the nutraceutical industry is not regulated. They're not regulated at all. They can put anything they want in a capsule, put it on the shelf, and sell it. So there are some major brands and some major companies that we trust and support. And so I kind of go through a video on getting patients to understand which brands and who you trust and who you buy from, who you buy your supplements from. You can waste a lot of money on supplements that are not going to do you any good at all.
Yeah, I was just thinking the value of that in itself, because that's something that it's very hard to know and to trust, because a lot of people, a lot of experts will recommend a brand because they are getting paid by that brand. I have a lot of trust issues with supplements. I talk about, like people online who, this is good, this is good, this is good. And you get very, very overwhelmed and confused about what is quality and what is not. And it's hard to know.
It's hard to know. It's hard to know. So a lot of physicians will buy directly from the manufacturer itself, and we will sell from the manufacturer. And there are 5 to 6, probably 7 or 8 brand name companies that have monitoring systems in their facilities, so they are regulated by physicians on staff who do regulation and testing of all of their supplements. So those are the companies that cross-regulate each other that we trust. The companies that don't have physicians or scientists on staff who do regulation of their own supplements and show those books and cross look at all the other supplement companies and cross-check each other. The ones that don't participate are the ones we don't trust.
Yeah,
so the ones who don't open book and show their research and show their product quality.
They're proud of what they do.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that you can spend a lot of money on supplements that don't work. And I think that's probably part of the problem for a lot of people, where they're just trying, and it is a money issue. I know that a lot of people don't have money, especially when they're out of work, but they might be trying a supplement that somebody else has tried and had success with. It could just be the quality of it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even just vitamin D, well, what quality of vitamin D and what dose of vitamin D. They can write anything on the bottle. You have to really, really trust the supplement company. And unfortunately, even if it's a lot cheaper, you're still kind of wasting your money, on a cheaper supplement. You're better off buying the best supplement. And I actually say that in the video that I did. If you can only afford 3 of these supplements, pick the highest quality of these 3 supplements. If you can't afford all 8, which most people can't afford half of what I recommended, because half of what I recommended supports every system in the body. So what I did was select all these supplements that will support detox and support the liver and support the kidneys and so I picked all these supplements that supports the whole system and your immune system as well. And I talk about them in a lot of detail and what in those products, and I also included combination products. So you don't have to buy one of this and one of that. It's a combo product that they put into one capsule. So if you can only afford 3 or 4 of those, you're far better off than going to, the local drugstore off the shelf and buying 10 of those. Yeah. So really supporting 4 or 5 systems really, really well with high quality supplements is far better than wasting your money on a ton of other supplements. It really is. And that's like buying fish oil. If you're going to buy really, really high quality fish oil and take 4,000 to 5,000 milligrams, that's going to do you far more than buying 7 or 8 different supplements that you don't know what they're doing.
What you just said then too about understanding why, that's crucial. Understanding why and what each supplement is meant to do, I feel is so important in the healing journey, because if you're just going, well, this might help me, this might help me, this might help me, and if you don't understand what it's doing inside the body and how it's working, the symptom you're wanting to resolve might not get resolved.
Right.
By understanding, you can continue on and know that it's going to be working even if you don't see immediate results.
So I have a supplement guide here. So in this workshop, I actually, 2 of the most important supplements, vitamin D and zinc, are actually included in the cost of the workshop, which is $199. So that's worth it right there. It's a very high quality vitamin D and zinc, and those supplies would last you 2 months right there. So in this video, I go over, so this is the PDF of the supplements that I talk about. If I can open it up a little. So I do a voiceover video, and I talk about all the basic supplements and when to take them before you're exposed to help build the immune system within 5 to 6 days of immediate exposure, and then if you develop COVID long haulers. And I spent days and days and days picking supplements that had multiple products in it to support multiple different systems, so you don't have to waste money buying all these different products. So I spent many days figuring out combinations so that you can buy one bottle of this that's going to support 2 or 3 body systems. So basically I go over basic wellness packs, your basic vitamin, a very high quality vitamin mineral, multivitamin mineral, zinc, which comes free with the program, vitamin D, which comes with the program. And then I go through each of these supplements here, when to take it, why to take it, and what it's for, what's in it. Like Innate Immune Support is a combination product that has 4 different immune support products, and they support the immune system in 4 different pathways. So that's really important that you're actually targeting the immune system in 4 different pathways, not just one. In melatonin, it's not just for sleep, so it does help put people to sleep, but it's an unbelievably important hormone that helps immune system of the gut. It's very important for the immune system of the gut, and the gut is the most important organ basically that we need to support and heal, because 80% of our immune system comes from the gut. So some of these products are a little more immune system related and a little more building and repairing the immune system based on the gut. S-acetylglutathione synergy, that's your major antioxidant. So that is the major antioxidant for your entire body, and Stellar C as well as an antioxidant. So I go through all of these products here. I talk about them in detail, and of course Theracumin is one of the most bioavailable, highly absorbable turmeric products on the market. So you can buy as much turmeric as you want in different products on the shelf, but this one is the most highly bioabsorbable product that's out there right now. And this is the one I have. I've actually switched a couple people to this product from other turmeric products, and they've noticed a difference immediately, because that's how effective this particular product is.
And I guess with gut damage, that would be where that's really important, wouldn't it?
Yes, and people who have COVID long haulers definitely have a lot of inflammation going on. So, I mean, that's one of the most important supplements right there, which I go through them in order of importance as well.
Yes, okay.
If you're going to select 1 or 2, these are the 1 or 2 you're going to select. If you're going to select 5, these are the 5 you're going to select. And it really depends on your course as well, whether you're a COVID long hauler patient or you're just exposed only and pre-exposed.
Yes, because it would be different, wouldn't it? Yeah.
So I go through all of these products here in detail in the course. So the main substance of the course basically is a coaching program. So all of my patients who come to me, I'm doing a lot of the medicine behind it and the testing and really treating really aggressively for different things. But at the same time, they are going through this course basically, and they are fixing their lifestyle factors at the same time at home on their own. So I give them these PDFs basically for them to go through at home on their own. And if they need a coach, then I direct them to a coach who will help them with all those modifiable lifestyle factors. Because doing this type of work is too expensive for a physician to coach you. You should be hiring a functional coach or nutritionist to help you with these things. You do not want to pay a physician for their time for this. So that's one of the reasons I made the workshop as well. This is what people should be doing at home on their own. And if they need help, they need to hire a coach or a nutritionist. And if they really want to dig down and figure out exactly what's going on and why they develop COVID long haulers and why their immune system is dysfunctional, then they go see a functional medicine physician.
I think as well, they're doing the lifestyle changes just with any chronic illness. And this is different to going to a normal doctor and getting a symptom treatment, like treating the symptom. You become part of the process. You become, yes. and that's I think the really valuable thing. If you take your health into your own hands and understand that you've got the power, you're going to get much better results than just outsourcing everything. You outsource the stuff that you don't have the skills for, but by learning these basics, you're empowering yourself.
And you're healing yourself.
Yeah, and it's like a snowball effect.
So when you go to a functional medicine physician, it's you are helping yourself and healing yourself. You're the one doing all of the work. All I'm doing is pulling out, this is why, and this is how you got sick, and this is what you need to change and what you need to do in your life, and this is how we're going to fix this particular problem. But it's the patient who's in complete and total control of how they get better and how they manage their health.
And I guess that comes down to mindset and relationships. So that's something that, Devon and I have talked about quite a bit lately. Those of us who have gone through chronic illness before, our mindset is very, very different to people who this is the first chronic illness they've come across. And that acceptance and that learning of the longevity of it is very hard for people. And, getting the right mindset to know that you are going to heal takes time. So I'm really glad that that's in there.
That's interesting to hear because, in my process, I went through becoming very, sick over a long period of time, not suddenly, all of a sudden with COVID, like the COVID long haulers. So it gradually came to a point of, being really, really fatigued. And
yes. Yeah. And
so I'll show you some of the PDFs that I have in here. I have numerous PDFs. I go over COVID long hauler syndrome, and I talk about some of the science. I do a video more of the science behind it and trying to describe what functional medicine is and how we're different in trying to heal patients who have COVID long haulers, which we've talked about that for the past 20 minutes now. So basically I do an entire video of trying to explain that we have to get to the absolute root cause of why you develop COVID and long haulers. It's not because you got the virus and got sick. Essentially, it's because something else had been going on and your immune system was already a little bit dysfunctional for some reason, and trying to figure out what that reason was. I do go through some of the genetics. There are some genetic investigation going on. Some people who may be more susceptible to the virus than not. So there are a lot of different avenues that they're looking at, different genetic SNPs that they think are making people more susceptible. But basically, a lot of us functional medicine physicians believe that there is something else uncovering and unmasking from COVID and developing COVID long haulers, that it's basically our basic practice. It's every single patient we see every day. We're looking for the root cause of exactly why they're sick.
And for any of us who actually went through the acute phase of COVID, badly, know that it feels like it's just trying to get any weakness it can get.
Yeah.
It's like it goes through your body, analyzes it, and just
destroys
weakness after weakness. And if you've got multiple weaknesses like many of us do, it'll go for them all.
Yeah. And that's the key. You're not fixing one thing. You're fixing everything all together at one time.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the layout of my PDFs. This is kind of how I put them together. And I talk about, autoimmune and COVID long haulers, ways to improve. Number one, you have to heal your gut. You have to work on your gut. You have to work on nutrition and supplements, and you have to work on restoring normal gut health. decreasing your toxin burden, basically. So I go through multiple handouts on decreasing toxic burden. And then I have a handout on mitochondria itself and how to try to repair your mitochondria at home and what you need to do at home. Managing stress levels. Stress is a huge one in causing chronic disease. So that's basically the layout of the handouts that I have. I go through the 5 most common inflammatory foods that you really need to exclude from your diet. But then I also talk about 5 of the most, nutritious foods you should probably include in your diet. So these are the real basics, but kind of the gist of defeating a lot of your symptoms of inflammation. Gluten. I think everybody needs to get rid of gluten. Wheat, gluten allergy, everybody needs to get rid of gluten. Dairy, if you're already inflamed, dairy is just going to exacerbate that inflammation. And here I thought years ago that drinking a cup of milk every single day was, there's a lot of issues as to why dairy is an inflammatory food.
Unless it's fermented.
Yes. Sheep's milk fermented. And then when you go through like an elimination diet, it really opens every single patient's eyes to, oh, that dairy really did affect me. I can't believe how much dairy really affected me. I had no idea that my joints hurt that much or that my sinuses throbbed so much because of dairy. When I quit dairy and then I added it back a month later, it was just amazing how much sinus pressure and how much my joints ached. So realizing that foods really, really do affect you. And when you're in an inflammatory state, these 5 common inflammatory foods, you really do need to get out of your diet, get rid of them. You need to look at all of your products. So you're far better educated than I am about looking at, you can go ahead and talk about that, looking at packages and seeing that the additives in the packages would include corn and
MSG. My goodness.
MSG.
MSG is so hidden. Any flavors, just avoid any flavors. I think it's interesting though, and this is where the value of testing comes into it. So for me personally, I'm fine with dairy, but I've had, I've taken so much milk kefir over the years. I'm not okay with sheep's milk, which is really interesting. And so, I'm fine with eggs, and I guess that's the thing where if somebody tried these basic things and they weren't getting the results they wanted, would be the value then to go get further testing.
Yeah. But when people are in a real advanced inflammatory state, they develop more allergies and more allergies because the gut becomes leaky and you develop more allergies. So those 5 tend to be the 5 that the majority of people are going to be reacting to. But so if you're a COVID long hauler patient, you have a significant amount of inflammation, just get rid of those 5. Just get rid of them. But like you said, as you go down the process and you start adding foods back and your gut is healing, then you might have to go for testing to figure out, well, which ones am I really reacting to or not reacting to? But those are the most common when you're in a severe state that you're going to react to.
And corn being on your list, corn is what's usually in most gluten-free things. So it's kind of, you have to almost give up majority of grains to do this properly because it's very hard to. And then if you're going for a rice, you need to not overdo your rice because of arsenic and
so if you have to read the package, if you have to read the label, for me, you just don't buy it or don't eat it. Everything is a whole fruit, a whole meat, chicken, fish, or whatever, a whole fruit, not juice. And it's fresh fruits and vegetables. If you have to pick up a package and actually read it, I'm extremely anal retentive about packaged foods because packaged foods will contain things like, additives that are emulsifiers, and those emulsifiers can break down gut lining and cause a lot of problems as well.
It's like I don't use emulsifiers in my skincare products for the same reason, for the damage it does to your skin. Right.
So you have to be very aware of all the chemicals in foods. I go through modifiable lifestyle factors in the setting of COVID. For example, with mitochondria. Mitochondria respond to a different type of exercise. They respond to HIIT training. They respond to very short bursts of energy. They do not respond to endurance at all. And one of the reasons is because the phospholipid membrane, breaks down. And in a short burst of energy, you're able to pull in magnesium and CoQ10 and your vitamin B1 and B2 and produce the ATP and the energy that you need in short bursts because you you have just enough mitochondria, and some of those phospholipid membranes are still intact and not dysfunctional. So you can do HITS training, and mitochondria respond to that HITS type of training, short bursts of high activity, and only what you can tolerate. So I go through that in detail as well. And it doesn't respond to endurance. So do not go out and try to hike 5 miles because you're actually going to kind of retract the mitochondria even more until we get it repaired and boost that system back up.
That's something
So I go through that.
I'm personally very conscious of that, not overdoing
it.
It's hard when you start feeling good. You want to go do those extra long, like I can do this, but I'm very aware that it can.
And then a lot of people, when we were young, we train that push yourself, and you get more energy and better. Well, at this point in time, you don't. You don't until you repair these systems. You kind of have to wait on that.
And even then, you still have to balance it, because like you said, it's catabolic. It breaks down the body when you do
catabolic
exercise. Yeah. And people don't.
So I have PDFs on nutrition and gluten sensitivity, talking a lot more detail about nutrition, gluten sensitivity, environmental toxins to stay away from, and also household toxins, and how to get rid of your house of all the toxins that are just contributing to everything. All of it contributes to inflammation. Yeah. So, and then websites you can go to look for products that you should be using rather than products you should not be using. So I go through a lot of that in detail. And why you need to detox, and get rid of a lot of those products in your house, and how you go through detox, and how you kind of push your liver and your detox systems to get rid of a lot of the inflammation in the body. And one of those is having a bowel movement every single day. So when people come in and say, oh yeah, my bowel movements are regular, I have one once a week. Well, that's completely abnormal. Really, you really need to be having a bowel movement every single day. So I talk about some of that stuff. I go through products for detox, what you should be taking for detox.
Fragrances, I just saw that fragrances are everywhere, and that they're one of the biggest toxin overloads and stress factors for people that they don't realize.
They don't realize. I think it took me almost 6 or 7 months before I realized I need to get rid of a lot of this, things in my house, and I need to get rid of that and that and that. It took me a long time to figure out, you have to get rid of all of those products just to.
This is where my extreme sensitivity
to get rid of all the inflammation, especially those of us with mold. Mold is extraordinarily difficult to get rid of, so you have to do all of this. You really do.
And so is COVID.
Emotional stress and trauma, and I go through a PDF on sleep and how to reset your circadian rhythm. If your sleep cycles are way off, things you can do at home to reset your circadian rhythm. I go through a PDF on exercise, movement, mindset, and relationships. So that's kind of an idea of what the workshop is. It's a ton of handouts of everything you should be doing at home in order to support all of your body systems.
Fantastic. We might do some questions now. Brittany, you're on. Do you have any questions? Do you want to shut that down, Lisa, and we'll go to a full screen?
Figure it out.
Thank you for showing us that. I think it's incredibly valuable, and I think as well the savings, the value of what you're putting together is what has really filled my heart, really, because I know. So for my course, with what I've learned, which is largely what you cover, $6,500. I mean, we do go into a lot more detail, but that basic understanding.
And what period of time is that?
Is it 12 months? It's a 12 months.
12 months. So that's really, really good too. Quite honestly, you get patients in my program who you don't really understand the importance of this. And I really some of the patients, I need to send them to a coach. They really have to understand this is really important. You really have to do this on your own. So a lot of patients need a coach. They do.
Yeah. And in our coaching, we have to work on ourselves as well. You can't.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's part of the learning, you have to go through, which I'm really glad I went through prior to COVID, because how sick I have gotten. I think it was I think I've mentioned to you before, the antibiotics that I was on 6 months prior is, I think, the biggest weakness that allowed it to take over my body. But, before that, I was very healthy, and I think.
Yeah. Well, if I had, the inflammatory markers that I had, 3-4 years ago, that, I had risk of sudden cardiac death or whatever, if I got COVID from that, there's no way I would have survived.
Yeah. I would have gone straight to your heart and gone.
Yeah.
Found that weakness.
Or my head, one or the other.
Combination. One question I did want to ask you. You mentioned when we spoke the other day about neurotoxins from pathogenic microbes. Can you just explain that a little bit more and how that's sort of affecting brain fog? Because that I don't think is generally talked about
The brain fog.
in relation to
Um,
the pathogenic microbes and the neurotoxins that
oh,
they produce.
wow. The neurotoxins that pathogens in the gut produce can do anything. I mean, I have an unbelievable number of examples I can give of patients that I have. The most common is going to be a mild depression and anxiety. So I've had multiple patients come in as soon as we start a really aggressive gut program, killing off these bad bugs that shouldn't be in your gut. Within 2 to 3 weeks, like I have no anxiety or depression. It's just gone in for years, for a lifetime. So mild anxiety and depression, because anxiety and depression that's really significant or more severe can stem from other things, not just from abnormal gut bugs. So we're talking, in general, generalized anxiety and depression that just suddenly comes on. I've had one patient who had H. pylori, abnormal H. pylori overgrowth, and she had severe itching at the bottom of her feet. And she spent $30,000 to $40,000 going to physicians, just trying to figure out intense itching at the bottom of her feet, dermatologist, and a lot of conventional medicine and testing, and couldn't figure out what was wrong. And she finally just kind of, we're talking intense itching for years.
Oh.
So kept her up at night, and it was extremely bad. She came to me, and I did a stool test. The first thing a functional medicine physician's going to do is a stool test, and found that she had abnormal growth of H. pylori. H. pylori gave off these toxins, and those toxins can do anything. They can affect the neurotransmitters in the brain. They can affect the levels of serotonin and dopamine and epinephrine and norepinephrine. It can cause regulation jumping up and down. So people are high mood swings, low mood swings. They have anxiety, depression. So different bugs can cause those effects. And in her case, we started treating the H. pylori within about I think it took 4 or 5 weeks. The symptoms completely went away. So she had it for 2 entire years. Her symptoms went away within 4 or 5 weeks of treating that. So there are different bugs in the gut. You can't predict what symptoms they're going to cause, because they can, in everybody it causes something different, but they release neurotoxins that affect people in different areas of the body and in different ways.
That's how they control, isn't it? And
Yeah.
H. pylori is one of those ones that's very hard to get rid of. And
I have pretty good. I'm very aggressive though. I'm very aggressive with my treatments though. So
that sounds
if you
great.
go to someone who's is like, you have to do this, this, and this, and this is how you're going to get better, and it's you may not have to take 16 pills a day. Yep, you do.
Yeah,
And
okay.
my patients get better. They do.
That's
They
good.
get better quick. Yep.
That excites me. It's good to know that there are answers out there. One of the questions Brittany, do you have any questions? Do you want to just type in the chat if you've got any questions? Otherwise, I'll go to the ones that I've got in the Facebook group. Some of the questions that were given, Lisa, do you have any alternatives to steroids?
Well, steroids are a big guns anti-inflammatory. So if you look at the steroid path, or the inflammatory pathway, the cascade in the body, if you think about it as a triangle, and up here you're going to use a steroid to decrease all the inflammation in the body. Well, if we use things like turmeric and quercetin, and we use a lot of different herbs in combination, like some of the combination herbs that I put on my supplement list there's 4 different products in that one product. They attack inflammation at different areas, so they're not a big gun that doesn't allow, that attacks inflammation from the top and gets rid of all the inflammation cascade from below, because you don't want to blow out your entire immune system, and that's what a steroid is doing. It's completely getting rid of your entire immune system, and you don't want to do that. You have to have a balance. You have to have a balance of your immune system to be reactive if it needs to be reactive, and also decrease inflammation when it doesn't need to be inflamed. So steroid does you no good, actually, unless you're in an acute process. I mean, sometimes you have to go for the steroid if you have significant inflammation lungs and you're not breathing. You got to get rid of that inflammation immediately and now. So there's a need for steroid. But there's also different aspects of disease and sickness where you don't need to go to steroid, and what you want to do is target different inflammation targets throughout the body and just kind of calm those areas down so that the rest of the immune system can still function in its normal way.
Yeah, so for me, the steroids helped when I had like numbness and droopiness, like the whole way but my doctor would only give me a 5-day course. I felt great off them.
Yes, yeah.
I know how bad steroids are, and I was still like, can't I have mornings?
And that's the reason they're not going to give you more, because you're
Yeah.
really blowing out your entire immune system.
And
and
he
you
was
can't-
trying to stop that permanent damage, which I'm
Yeah.
very grateful for. Very good. Thank you, doctor.
Yeah,
So-
there's a need for acute care medicine. Our acute care medicine system is amazing, probably one of the top in the world. And the use for steroid just to heal, just to get people, I guess to get people from not dying from different
off that ledge. Yeah.
Yes, off that ledge, yeah. And then there's, chronic inflammation, and there's a whole different process for treating chronic inflammation. So there's acute care and then chronic care.
Yes. Yeah. And I guess
Functional medicine is far better suited to chronic inflammation and chronic care.
Brittany's got a question. I don't know if you can see that in the chat there, Lisa. I can read it out to you.
IMCAS is really, is it? Yes. Oh, yeah.
So that's mast cell activation, isn't it? What role do you believe mast cell activation plays in long haul COVID?
It's just one of the body systems that becomes inflamed and becomes kind of out of whack. It's just one of the body systems that's just kind of out of whack and hyperreactive. There's a lot of chronic diseases where patients develop IMCAS. So is it treatable with functional? Absolutely, because you're getting to the root cause of what caused, that body systems to become dysfunctional and out of whack. So there's, for mold patients develop IMCAS. A lot of patients with Lyme develop. A lot of patients with activated viruses develop. So I'm not treating IMCAS. I'm treating maybe the symptoms and calming them down, and then getting to the root cause of why did that body system become dysfunctional. It's an entire functional medicine model.
So can you just quickly explain what mast cells, I don't know how you say it.
Mast cell activations. Mast cells are part of the immune system and immune system response. So like I said before, you have the immune system and you have different parts of the immune system. Mast cells are just one part of the immune system. And it's one part of the immune system that became very hyperregulated and abnormally and very dysfunctional. There are other parts of the immune system that become hyperregulated and act dysfunctional, so there's multiple different parts of the immune system that can become very dysfunctional, and that's just what mast cells are, just one part of the immune system that becomes very dysfunctional. So some patients will develop like high sweating, and they'll develop. Sometimes they'll describe it more as a parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system dysfunction, where they flush and get hot. So there's multiple different symptoms with IMCAS.
Another question, does nitric oxide decrease after COVID?
Nitric oxide is one of your detox pathways. It's just one detox pathway, and it's absolutely important. I believe that we're seeing with COVID long haulers, a lot of the patients have dysfunctional ammonia detox system, so the urea cycle is dysfunctional, and their nitric oxide levels are kind of low. They're very low, so we have to rebuild that pathway itself. So that's just one of the symptoms that becomes dysfunctional. So we're talking multiple systems that become dysfunctional. Pieces of the immune system become dysfunctional. They have multiple different syndromes. Some PANDAS, PANS, POTS, IMCAS, all these different names for them. So nitrous oxide pathway is part of your urea cycle pathway. That's a detox pathway. Or even liver pathways, like phase 1, 2, 3 different liver pathways become dysfunctional. So those are all part of your detox system, and they become dysfunctional. So it's just one of the areas of the body that we work together, to try to rebuild those systems.
Make sure that all the pathways are working as they should.
So all the pathways are working. So you're not just supporting one or two, you have to do everything.
Mm-hmm. Another question. What causes low oxygen saturation when walking? If pulmonary function test is okay?
I think that can be a lot of different things. I don't have a specific answer for that, because it could be a lot of different things. There's no specific answer for it.
Okay.
It could be mitochondrial dysfunction, seriously, it could be mitochondrial dysfunction. You're right there.
Yeah, or it could be POTS or lung
It could be
function or yeah.
yeah. And then how do you treat it? So if that person was asking because that's what those are her symptoms or his symptoms, and they're asking, well, how do you treat it? Well, you treat it from a functional medicine approach. You figure out what went wrong from the basic core. You look at the gut, you heal the gut, you heal the liver, you heal the NOS system, you heal the ammonia-urea pathway, you heal all the inflammation and everything. And that's how you fix all of your body systems. You don't just pick one thing that's wrong. You look at the entire core of the patient.
And it's so confusing. It's so much knowledge needed to know how to do that, and very, very overwhelming.
The one thing, that I was very surprised with COVID long hauler patients who've joined my practice who know nothing about functional medicine, they don't believe in it. They're so fatigued and distraught and just so stressed out from being sick. They can't handle it. And patients who know nothing about functional medicine, I thought I would have to sit there and talk to them for hours and hours and hours. And the reality of the COVID long hauler patients that I have that know nothing about functional medicine, they basically say, tell me what I need to do. I don't care what you're saying, just tell me what to do. And, if you want me to poop in this thing and go set it off for a stool test, I don't care. I'm going to do whatever I need to do. I'm so tired. I can't do this anymore. Yeah. So a lot of these patients, I'm very surprised, don't need this whole explanation. They don't need to listen to you and I or that explanation. They are so tired of being tired and so tired of being sick. They'll do anything just to get better.
Even me in my acute phase with all of my knowledge and everything, I couldn't do it myself. I could not.
Sometimes it's the brain fog. You just
and just the intensity of the symptoms. Had to outsource, and I was so very lucky to have the team of practitioners that I have. Who did it for me. You need to rest.
That's a good point. That's a good thing to think about. They're not thinking. They're just I can't teach them anything. They just need to get better.
Yeah, need to get better. Yep. Yeah. Brittany's got another question. Have you found that viral persistence is still an issue with long haulers? So,
with quite a few practitioners. So I talk online with a lot of functional medicine doctors. We kind of communicate online all day long. I think we have over 700 of us on a board communicating all day long. And a lot of them have said they have gone in. It's very random. People who still have antigens or antibodies, antigens, and from COVID, and they're treating them like an acute COVID to get rid of some of the symptoms. So they're treating them with ivermectin maybe, or they're treating with things if they still have antibody response, and they are improving with that. So I don't know if it's viral persistence or just it's not really viral persistence. We believe it's just the inflammation, the immune activation that's still going on from the virus itself. So there has been some really good effects of treating more of an acute virus in the long stage. Yeah. Now, in my patients, I really haven't done that because I think most of them have said their antibodies are negative. So I'm not going to treat somebody if their antibodies are negative. I'm not going to give them ivermectin or anything like that. I'm going to treat their whole body systems and their start with their gut and everything else.
The ivermectin's more an acute to kill the virus.
Yes, except there are quite a few people using it in the long haulers, and it seems to be effective.
Oh, it is working, is it?
It does seem to be effective in some patients, yeah.
Fascinating. So it's not persistent like, say, a herpes virus would be?
I don't think we know that.
Yeah.
I don't think the science knows.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. No, we're not even as far as the science and everything I'm trying to keep up with. No, I don't think we're there yet.
We won't know for years.
We don't know. Yeah.
I pray it's left.
Oh, I hope not. Yeah.
Who wants relapses in 10 years' time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So do you have any adaptogens that you would recommend? So Ati asked about Shiajolt, which you said earlier that you didn't know what that was, but adaptogens that you could recommend to people.
Well, that's kind of the basic thing we've been talking about for kind of an hour. There's multiple different herbs and supplements and nutrients and minerals and things that affect all the different body and all the different body pathways. And adaptogens are just one of the things that we can use, just one of the 10 and 15 different things that we can use to affect body and body pathways. There are numerous different adaptogens and there are numerous different supplements and herbs and vitamins and minerals. But the key is really knowing what you're affecting, what you're supporting. Are you supporting everything? Are you supporting liver detox and pneumonia? And are you supporting your kidneys? Are you supporting, your gut? Are you supporting everything? If you're just picking an adaptogen out of the blue, what specifically are you trying to use that for and why?
Thank you for that. I think that's all the questions. Brittany, if you have any more, type them in. I realized, Lisa, we didn't talk about the cost of your workshop and where people can go and buy it.
Okay. The workshop is $199 and it's just a phenomenal deal. Like you said, functional health coaches courses will charge up to $6,500 or even more for coaching. And it's just a basic multiple handouts. I think there's 13 different handouts, PDFs of everything you can do at home to change your lifestyle factors to help improve your overall body health and decrease inflammation. It's only $199. And I did this basically to put it out there to people who are really, really struggling and those people who've lost their jobs. They don't have any money whatsoever. And I'm including vitamin D and zinc, and it's just something you need to do at home in order to get yourself better. And if you can't afford a physician, if you can't afford a coach, it's $199. It is the basics of a major coaching program.
And I think that the relief it would provide to people to not spend all day, every day searching for answers on this basic stuff, because that's really all you can get in your forums is basic, and it's not
random stuff that may not help you. That may not help you in your problem. So the lifestyle factors are the core of everything, your entire body, not just one little supplement affecting one little thing. So it's the
entire mind alone and the time that'll give you to actually heal instead of wasting time looking for answers. Brittany's just asked, do you take patients virtually?
I do take patients virtually, yes. On my website, you go through an inflammation question, and then you submit that, and then I review, and then you can sign up for a 10-minute virtual consult.
So what I will do is I will post the links wherever this is posted. Anybody who is signed up, I'll email this to them. We could probably, I might even, no, well, I will put it, in the emails that I sent out, Brittany. And are you able to quickly put it into the chat, Lisa, your website?
My website? Mm-hmm.
I think this has been incredibly valuable, Lisa, that, like I said earlier, I want this information to people because it breaks my heart seeing the struggle that people are going through, the helplessness, the, suicidal nature of so many people because they are defeated.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this workshop out to a much larger audience. And unfortunately, a lot of the conventional sites say that it's a little, and they won't allow it on their site. But the amount and volume of information that's really, really going to help people and really get people to change what they're doing at home to help improve themselves it's very invaluable. It's, it's priced too low for what the value of what it is. But
you're a functional medicine practitioner and you want to help people.
People need this right now. They really do.
They do. Yeah, absolutely. And so thank you again for doing that and for doing these questions today. I will be sharing this with people, and anybody watching, please feel free to share it with anybody that is struggling. Like, we want to get the word out to as many people as possible to heal from this horrible, insidious virus that is just destroying lives, and unnecessarily it doesn't, if we all had this knowledge, maybe it wouldn't have the power that it does.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for doing these workshops.
Thanks, Lisa. So I'll end this now. Thank you for joining us, Brittany, and anyone's got any questions, let me know. Thank you.